This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
This is Luca Barrett, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
This is Brian Edward Hill, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
There's a thin line between heroism and madness.
Here, the line fades to nothing at all.
This is a world of Capes and Lunatics.
And nothing is off limits.
Hello, and welcome back to the Capes and Lunatics, episode 156. I am Phil. Joining me as always, is that Professor X? No! That's a prettier bald man. That is...
Charlie, the Professor Essa.
And... in that dark square over there. No, it is not the Vanisher. It is Queen of the Army.
Are you sure? No kidding. It's Little Hellfire.
You just want to look like Brad Pitt. First rule of Capes and Lunatics, don't talk to Capes and Lunatics.
Apparently.
And wash your hands.
Nobody tell Rob.
Nobody tell Rob! Oh, Ray's in the chat room. He says, "Sweet summer child."
Ray has entered the chat.
Oh.
Ray knows our lingo now.
Out of the pouch. Boing.
Boing.
Anyway, yes. So after last week's successful deep dive into Daredevil, these two wanted to talk some X-Men. So hey, we're going to talk some X-Men tonight. Charlie Esser even bought some mutant books, and Charlie Esser hardly ever buys mutant books.
That's not 100% true. I did follow the Mutant Massacre and even suggested a mutant for the Mutant Registration Act back in the days.
Well,
I didn't get picked.
Oh,
I haven't read mutant books in years, but you know.
Well, didn't you pick up an issue 2 of House of X or Powers of X?
Yeah, I picked up a couple.
Air quotes,
over the years I
air
have.
quotes on picked up. Air quotes.
Oh, yes.
No,
yes.
I mean, I purchased. I actually purchased my book. Well,
he purchased.
No, a couple of them I purchased. I purchased a few of them. Yeah.
But,
in general, actually, what I will say is I enjoy the concept of mutants. I think that mutants have a hard time every so often in execution because I think that mutants always fall apart whenever they try to get too extreme.
I agree.
There wasn't a X-Men book back in the day. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me give you an example, if I may kick us off on this grand adventure, because I actually got the first issue of X-Men to read for this. Of course, I'm speaking of 1991's X-Men #1.
It was the last one in America.
By Chris Claremont. Yes, Chris Claremont and Jim Lee is our penciler on this.
That's the one that's like a million copies.
Really? It's in the dollar bin now, kids.
Oh, yeah. There's probably literally a million copies swimming out there, yeah.
Yes. And I got to say, I was like, actually feeling really good about this. Is saying, man, for it being a 90s book and having that classic, 90s grotesque art style, grotesque meaning over-exaggeration of certain things, I'm not seeing a lot of weird, crazy male gaze scenes until we get to Silex Buffalo Shot. And because this is a family show, we'll leave it at that. And it is just one of those things like, man, you couldn't resist it. And granted, yes, I know that's her costume, but still, at a certain point, you got to say, maybe shorts would be a good costume for some characters. Maybe we don't need to see the whole of San Antonio, but it also rekindled my love of ads in comic books. Because, what we get in this is, ads for lots of things. Well, first off, okay, this is one of the best ads. Did you know that for a mere $1.75 the first minute and 75 cents each additional minute, you can call 1-900-228-X-Men. Yes, that's 1-900-228-X-Men, and you can actually fight the X-Men's classic villains.
Yep.
As a group of characters here is Wolverine. Apparently Phil got chided from his parents for calling this number.
No. I just figured that was one of those 900 numbers like Lilith used to call.
Yeah, well, no, except this one probably had fewer buffalo shots. So,
Nobody tell Rob.
Nobody tell Rob.
Nobody tell Rob. But then there's also apparently Chris Claremont did a couple of books that are about female fighter pilots. Trying to find that ad here, because he says, "Oh yeah, put an ad for my books in this," which don't seem to be Marvel related at all. Because I'm thinking, oh, is that young Captain Marvel or young Carol Danvers? But nope, just an ad, and I can't find it. Oh, here they are: the action-packed excitement, dynamic novels by writer of X-Men Chris Claremont, available at your local bookstore and where paperbacks are sold. You have First Flight and Grounded. Dun, dun, dun. And man, I don't know if you guys can see that very well. But if you just saw Chris Claremont saw this, it said, would you not think, oh, is that a Carol Danvers book? I mean,
I wonder if that
was before.
I wonder what printing that is, because I don't know if that was in mine or not. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but because that book a couple times. I don't know.
Okay, let me see though. Well, this should
that
say
could be this $1. It might have been like a second or third or whatever.
Yeah. Let's see. Nope. Volume 1. No, Volume 1, Number 1, October 1981. Yeah. I don't see anything saying it's a second printing on it, but yeah.
Oh, might be.
But yeah,
straight out of the first printing. Oh.
Maybe, man. Maybe. I don't know. I think they vary ads by location, so it's possibly that, in Pennsylvania, they did not think that they would be interested in the novelization.
Fancy because you got that fancy mustache and smooth head.
That's what comes with it. It's the patience of a mustache. But as a story, I got to say, this is first off, it's a great intro because we do get to meet all of our current roster of characters. Beyond Psylocke, we also do get Jean Grey, we get Colossus, we get Rogue.
Everyone's back together finally.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we got Blue Angel. By the way, why he never called himself Blue Angel after he got the wings, I don't know, but it's weird. And I still don't think anyone has ever given a definitive answer as to why sometimes he looks like regular Angel and sometimes he looks like Angel of Death Angel. Because
at that point, part of that's a costume, so it's over his hair. But eventually, within the last 15 years or so, he was able to physically transform for a while too. I mean, he's gone through metamorphosis.
Yes. I guess mutant books repay the dedicated reader. But we have, of course, Magneto is our villain in this, and this guy Cortez. Man, you see him in that first scene, and he's all Lokiing at Fabian Cortez. He is oh, great Lord Magneto, let me tell you what I would suggest to do. And you're like, dude, you are 1,000% evil, and I don't trust you on the third page. And that's the mark of a good comic book villain. You should know right away this guy means trouble.
Oh yeah, he definitely means trouble.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed this book. A mutant milestone, if you will. That's what it says right on the cover. This is 50 years, man. 50 years since we got old Cappy back there in 1941. They're recognizing that. Yeah, but I loved it. I loved all the characters we saw in it, and it was a grand introduction to the X-Men, their universe, and their history, and the complex relationship they have with Magneto. As yes, he is evil Magneto. Yes, he has this dark history. Yes, he's trying to turn over a new leaf. Also, and it's a really great scene in here where during this fight, after he raises the nuclear sub Leningrad that he's sunk and he's knocked into the sub by Cyclops, who's actually trying to save him, because of course so much of this story is the unintended consequences and people misinterpreting what's going on, almost like a French farce, except people are dying. And he falls into the sub amongst all the bodies in the sub, and it like gives him like PTSD flashbacks to when he was thrown into the death pit in the concentration camp and had to climb his way out. And it's like, oh wow, that's a lot to pack into one little book.
Well, yeah.
Although it is a bigger.
Yeah, he sunk that.
I mean, let's not forget.
Yeah, he sunk that submarine, and then now he comes face to face with the victims. Like, hey.
This was $1.50.
Remember when you could
an entire $1.50? That was a lot of money back then, Phil. That's all I'm saying.
Remember when you get all that entertainment for only $1.50?
Yes.
Inflation is a hell of a drug.
But yeah, so I mean, it packed a lot into it. Now, Phil, apparently you read this book. What did you think of it?
Oh, well, thank you, Charlie. Yes, sir. Yeah.
You that you once read it.
I mean, I've read it. It was like the big I don't want to say reboot, but yeah, the X-Men had been scattered for basically years. Professor X finally came back to Earth. Yeah, that original X Factor team joined the X-Men. So so this was like, oh yeah, look, we're getting the big team together. This is when the X-Men. The primary X-Men split into two teams.
X-Men Blue and everybody has to have more than one book because it's the 90s. See?
Yeah, I think that's when it started right here.
This is also where we get, I don't know if this is the first appearance of it, but we also get Professor X in the solid gold hover chair.
Yeah, I think story-wise, yeah.
For conductivity, super conductivity.
See, because because he was on his second body. After being infected by the Brood Queen, the Shi'ar cloned him a new body, so he's on a new body. He was off with his queen, booty call for a while. He comes back to Earth. The Shadow King's causing trouble, and guess what? Oh, look, Xavier gets his back snapped again. So that's what. This was the first appearance of the hover chair. Yeah.
Brand new freaking body. The man just does not take care of these things.
Nope.
But that's the problem with cloning. You think, oh, I'll just get a new one. That's what Otto always thought. Now he's stuck in the fat body again. Poor Otto.
It doesn't have to be the ample body. He could work out if he wanted to.
How about you?
He could. Well, to be fair, superhero metabolism helps with that. And he doesn't have that superhero metabolism anymore. So
it's the Marvel universe. He can go get a shot on the corner. Oh. I'm sure they're selling superhero steroids, or get some, cereal or something. I'm sure the 50 cereal's still floating out there somewhere.
He has the DNA. Wow. He could inject himself with spider DNA again if he wants.
Wow.
to. If he wants to, he could do it. But now
he could just call Peter. Subtext alert.
We'll solve that.
Hello.
We'll all about that subtext.
He does have radioactive fluids. So, thank you. Yeah, but that's I got to turn it back to Otto for at least a little bit here. Yeah, but I really enjoyed the book. I mean, as a person who's not a huge fan of the X-Men, reading that book, I would be a friend of the X-Men, except that I know what the X-Men currently are.
Oh, and do you?
Clone. Although, again, I have to say, isn't that interesting that whole idea of, I have created the Asteroid M, and all mutants are now citizens of Asteroid M, and any mutant can come to Asteroid M to be a citizen.
I'm telling you,
which sounds fine to me.
Yeah. So listen, something's going on in those current books. I mean, somebody's doing something nefarious. So it's like, is it Magneto? Is it?
No, he's a pawn.
Is it Sinister because everyone's dying and getting recloned? Who does that sound like?
It's Sinister.
Yeah. I think we
can all agree it is Sinister.
Did you say maybe he cloned Krakoa?
I mean, actually, what I said is maybe Krakoa's. I think Krakoa is in it with Sinister, where those two like sort of met up one day, had a little hot jungle love, if you will, both physically, figuratively, and literally, and
Sinister.
Yeah, well, you know what? Hey, man, his head comes off. He is like 90% genetically remodified. He is.
Who am I?
Either that or it's all mojo.
So what? They have to get their mojo back?
Their mojo back. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, yeah, the current X-Men line, it's weird, it's crazy, it's creepy, and
you got ruffles on the dark side of the moon.
First off, hey, if you want to be a throuple, go be a throuple in broad daylight. That's what I say. And there is no dark side of the moon. That eventually comes back around, So like a 30-day cycle, but first one, then the other. And then yeah, so it's weird. It's weird. But do one of you want to talk about another X-Men property?
But it was weird because I was reading like a couple months right before that issue because I was reading the Extinction Agenda. Mm-hmm. That was the big cross. X-Men, X-Factor, New Mutants.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hate that.
Oh, okay.
It was all right, but
is that where all the New Mutants died for a while?
Well, that's where Warlock died. Spoilers. It was like, Ray loves it. Of course, Ray loves it. You love the collection obsession. Shut up, Ray. But and then you know what I was reading before that, Charlie Esser. Do you know why New Mutants 87 is such an important issue?
I do not know why New Mutants 87 was an important issue, or why it's less, or why 86 is not quite as important.
New Mutants 87, first appearance of the man called Cable.
Oh, that's a silly name. Oh,
well,
his mother didn't give him that name. That's all I'm saying.
Well, no, it was Nathan Summers, But I mean,
exactly.
I know.
Why isn't he just Nathan?
Because nobody wants to be a Summers. Okay?
I heard when they first created the character, they're almost they were toying with that, or like what was the other name? I think Commander X or something.
The 90s.
I think that might have.
Yeah, the 90s were a hell of a drug.
You weren't born in that, or whatever it is. I don't know. That's a whole other argument about exactly where the millennials are. Who are the millennials and who are the...
Well, no, all 90s kids are millennials, but not all millennials are 90s kids. I think it's how that goes. It depends on
what it is right now is whether or not you embrace the name millennial or you reject it. Because that's the whole thing I was reading about today, and I was trying to explain to people how generations work, and
generations. People, I didn't sign up for that social construct.
Yeah, who cares? Exactly. It's just this idea that
just another division.
That here's the boomers, and here's Gen X, and then here's and then they wanted Generation Y from the boomers. Or from the millennials, but then it's like, well, no, usually it's millennials and Gen Z. No, I am Gen X, proud and true.
Ray, are you saying that's lower? Gen 69?
Touche. Boing.
I love we have a comedy writer in the back.
Out of the pouch. Boing.
Out of the pouch.
Wait, what was the first X-Men story you ever read, Philip?
What is the first X-Men story I ever read? I started probably in the late 80s. I'm trying to remember. I might have even started picking up X Factor before X-Men. Really. I think
That explains so much.
I think shut up. I think the very first X-Men issue I got was like that first one when they were in Australia after they faked their deaths. I believe. But yeah, I picked up X Factor around 50. Yeah.
My first X book was probably the Fantastic Four, in which Marvel Girl is awakened. I don't know the numbers, Phil. 286, Fantastic Four 286, and then continued on in X Factor. And then I think my first actual official X book was probably X Factor number 2 or number 3, the one where we first meet Tower and his group of X people. I forget what their group was.
You didn't get X Factor number 1, which was the continuation of that Fantastic Four?
No, it's okay. I didn't always go to okay, Philip, I could not drive at the time.
Mr. Fantastic appeared in it. I thought you maybe had it.
Yeah, no, I did not. I got it later, much later. But in that first one, I did not get it. That was like that might have been like one of my first like recent long box purchases, where it's like, oh, this book came out like 3 months ago, but I'm going to buy it from the long box. But yeah, I did eventually read it. But I think my first one was the appearance, and I want to say it was either 2 or 3. It's the one on the cover where you have this other group of villains that they're going to fight against, and then X Factor, and the villains try to rob a bank. The only whose name I remember is a guy by the name of Tower, who could grow very tall, which I thought was a super amazing power for a mutant to have, because it suggested he could create his own Pym particles, which, when you think about it, that is, although not outside of the range of normal mutant powers, is one of those Omega level powers that the guy who has it doesn't realize he's Omega level when he has it. Sort of like Iceman, I'm an Omega level mutant, but didn't know it for like decades. And Tower is one of these guys who's like, oh, I'm an Omega level mutant. I didn't know. Wait, controlling your size is like a really crazy superhuman power? It's like, yes, you are manipulating space and time when you do that.
It's got to be longer.
That's the crazy. Which is, to its extent, the craziest thing about mutants, because there is no bar of entry for powers, and so people get powers just randomly assigned to them. And so you could be a TV repairman, suddenly you realize, oh, I can go 2 minutes back in time. Isn't that useful for whatever I do in my day? And not realizing that, oh, you have bent space and time to your will. You are a living black hole. The things that you are doing now defy the entire nature of space and time as we understand it, and you are an Omega level mutant. It's like, oh, I was just going to make sure that my pizza got on time. So yeah, that's what I love about mutants, the complete randomness of it. Even more than other superheroes like Spider-Man, who still had to be a teenage kid who wanted to go to a science fair, a radioactivity demonstration, which is, that takes some, if you really think about it, that nerd level X, where you're like, ooh, they're going to be doing a demonstration of radioactivity? I'd love to see that. And like, it's radioactive! Wow. It is the microwave.
You think that?
The X-ray.
You think that's bad? Check out Quantum Zone episode 112 that came out today. Marvel boys dealing with an anti-radiation bomb, But
that just sounds made up. I'm just gonna say that right now. Well, you can have radiation of antiparticles. I don't know what an anti-radiation bomb would be.
I don't think that's how that works. I don't think that's how it is.
Well, okay, so if you're going to have well, first off, you can't have a radiation bomb. You can have a bomb that emits radiation. And so as I said, you could have a bomb that emits antiparticle radiation, and that antiparticle radiation could be a thing. So it could be an antiparticle radiation bomb or an antiparticle bomb, but you can't have an anti-radiation bomb.
You were still breathing.
That's
so
like a flash dark. I mean, you could, and theoretically, to be fair, in the Marvel Universe, you do have a flash dark where people do have dark powers, dark energy powers. So, and then again, dark energy is a real concept. So maybe that works.
No.
Okay, Lilith Hellfire. Let me judge you now. What was your first X-Men? What was your first time, Lilith Hellfire?
Actually, the gentleman's name is Magneto, which is X-Men 104, first appearance of Starjammers.
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 The universe does not need more space pirates. Especially
yes, it does!
Space
Nonsense! Nonsense! You can never have enough space pirates. I reject your theory and your premise.
The first? Well, some of the first. They're before Firefly.
Well, they were Earthling space pirates.
Buck Rogers wants to have a word with you, sir.
He was not a space pirate. Thank you very much. First off, he doesn't even go into space in the original novels.
Wasn't he like the guy from Futurama?
Yeah, he fell asleep, and it was basically Rip Van Winkle. Then he wakes up 1,000 years in the future when the Chinese have conquered us all. So hey,
that turned out to be true.
It's like, well, fair enough. Oh, you shouldn't say that about the Chinese. It's mean, and also very racist, and all that kind of stuff too. On Uncanny X-Men 248, Colossus finds dead Storm after having blasted her accidentally on the cover.
Yeah, he means Havoc. They think Havoc accidentally kills Storm, but it's a trick by, get ready, Charlie, Nanny. That's when Nanny.
Nanny?
She turns Storm into a child, yes.
Our little egg robot who steals children, apparently.
She turns Storm into a child, so yeah, Storm is like a teenager when she meets. That's when she first.
Is that where Sky High got their premise from? I feel like that's where Sky High got their premise from.
Yeah, so Storm is like a teenager who meets Gambit. You can relate, Lil. Right? Teenage girl.
That's how Storm is a teenager meets Gambit.
As you said, I was born as a little adult. I agree.
Wait, no. Yes. The teenager steals Charles Xavier's wallet. What is happening here?
No, because Nanny regressed Storm to like a teenager. Yeah.
Okay.
She like
physically
changed her body to a teenager. Yeah, no.
Oh, she made her a baby and then she made her a teenager.
Yeah.
Which defeats the whole purpose of making. I don't know if I accept the premise put forth by these X books. I'm going to go out on a limb on that. Well, I'm just saying, it seems like they play a little fast and loose with a lot of ideas here. And I think that they maybe don't do the hard science. Oh, your boos only make me stronger.
Don't feed the trolls.
I'm just saying. It seems... yeah. Okay. So anyway, Storm was a teenager again, and then steals. I'm assuming steals Gambit's wallet to recreate the Storm stealing Professor Xavier's wallet scene, because that's iconic.
That's way too uncomplicated to be a Claremont story. Come on.
Burn!
But didn't Claremont have Storm steal
That wasn't 20,000 words to describe an Omega level mutant. I agree.
But again, Storm is a very much an Omega level mutant, but she's one who knows it, from the start.
She's very nonchalant about it. Yes.
Oh yeah. That's actually one of the things I was, as I was saying, I've been watching the Spider-Man and Amazing Friends, which is a very mutant heavy series.
Mm-hmm.
Given that two of the characters are mutants.
And Firestar, yeah.
Yeah, and they say in the series that Firestar used to be an X-Men. However, in the actual comics, because the TV show came before the comics, she becomes she's actually a Hellion, which was, for those who don't recall, that is, what's her name? The White Queen's, Emma Frost's X-Men equivalent. So,
yes. Well, interesting. They created Firestar for the Amazing Friends show first because I think they said they wanted Johnny Storm, but I don't know if there was a thing with rights and stuff. So they're like, oh,
there's always a thing with rights, especially
and
back
then. They were
then.
like, oh, maybe we should, while we're creating a new character, maybe we should throw a girl in here,
Well, actually, as I understand it, and this, I'm just going to say it, they didn't want it to be a sausage fest. I think it was.
Hey, that's my line.
No, I mean, they could have gone with Frankie Ray. Was Frankie Ray around at this time? Because that would have been the logical choice, but I think they probably wanted someone who was more teenagery. Which is ironic because neither Peter or Bobby Drake were really teenagers at that point in comics history. But so they created a new character. And for what it's worth, usually they like to create new characters because whoever gets it to publication first gets the rights. So in that sense, it's like this idea that the TV universe kind of owns it. But originally they were going to do Iceman, Human Torch, and Spider-Man as the three amigos. And then somewhere along the line they said, but what about girls? Maybe they'd like to have a character. Or teenage boys who would also like a girl to look at. And so...
More importantly, teenage boys who would like a girl to look at. Let's just be honest.
And so Firestorm was born. Yes.
Looking at you, bronies. Looking at you.
Not going to judge it, but I'm just going to say yes. And so Firestar was born. And... her story goes from there. But within that, so they fight Magneto. We get to meet the Juggernaut in Along Came a Firestar. We get to see the original X-Men and the origin of Iceman, which is very cool. And it's very cool because they do the original X-Men in the origin of Iceman, and then they jump ahead to do in Along Came a Firestar when they first introduced the X-Men of that time proper, and Angel has to introduce the other X-Men to this Australian Wolverine.
I was going to say,
Wolverine.
I was going to say, like the Simpsons, they're predicting the future.
Yeah, so, to be fair, well, you know what? Here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell it to you real straight to you right now, Philip. Australians are cool. Crocodile Dundee was cool and a tough guy. Ergo, we're going to make him Australian because that's going to be tougher than a Canadian. And
I
then
know,
because
I hear weird things about it.
I'm just saying, because Crocodile Dundee is a tough guy, our sense of Australians became that, they're tough guys. And then Mel Gibson comes along. He's a tough guy, too.
Well, yeah, they live around things that can kill them. You think murder hornets are bad. There's 50 million snakes that can kill you.
I'm just going to say...
The kangaroos are no joke.
Look, I'm going to say Australians are no tougher than Canadians. No tougher than Americans.
Canadians aren't tough. And Americans are pampered pansies now. Fight me.
Okay.
So...
Well, that's not necessarily untrue. it's also, I'm going to say it's also true with Australians. You go into the outback of Australia, you go into the wilds of northern Canada, you go to freaking...
Oh, the wilds of northern Canada. Boo-hoo. Oh, you're a little cold.
You
Oh my
couldn't handle it.
God.
And there are polar bears. There are polar bears, Lilith.
Well, I'm a Floridian now, so yeah, my blood is thin.
And then in Florida, you're fighting armadillos half the time. So it's... I'm just saying there are lots of different groups of people who can be both villainous, or not villainous, who can be both tough guys and weaklings, and it is equally distributed amongst all the continents. But because the American idea of Australians at the time was of tough guys, and continues to this day, that tough guy Australian ideal became the notice for us looking at actors, because, well, let's look at that. Let's look tough guys. Well, Paul Hogan was a tough guy. Let's look at other Australian actors to see who else is a tough guy. And so Hugh Jackman is in fact Wolverine. Thank you. Welcome to my TED Talk.
So, Lilith Hellfire, didn't you want to talk some X-Men movies?
We could talk movies, we could talk video games, we could talk the TV shows. Well, there's only 2 live action TV shows. Legion is a mind F, and the Gifted was squandered.
Did you watch any Legion?
Yeah, it's okay. It's visually stunning, but that's about the only thing going for it for me personally. Like, it tries too hard. Like, I already like Twin Peaks. I'm already dealing with Twin Peaks. I don't need a Twin Peaks with power, superpowers. You know,
I get it.
Phil Perch.
But no, like I could see why people like it. Is it getting a season 4?
No, it's done. Whatever. Was it 3 or whatever? Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, and that was only 8. The last season was only 8 episodes. I haven't watched the last season yet, so I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a Fox property. It's done now. They're all done. They had their time. They're like the Land O'Lakes lady. You know, it's their time is done. They served their purpose. They had a good run. We shouldn't be angry that she's leaving. We should just be saying thank you for what you gave us.
So are we gonna get rid of the Washington Redskins too, or?
I mean, that's up to the guy who owns it, and no, he's a racist. The difference is Land O'Lakes.
Yeah, that's my point. It's like we're all getting rid of stuff. Like, if we can't get the Land O'Lakes lady on the butter, I'm just saying, every Sunday, maybe not.
I'm not.
But anyway, no.
It's just that what I'm going to say is that the people who own Land of Lakes are more aware of the badness of their logo than the guy who owns the Washington Redskins. And so, yeah, unfortunately, the Washington Redskins are with us until some people die. People have to die in order to get a better world, unfortunately. And to which we say thank you, COVID-19. No, I don't want to say that. Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of the pilot Pride of the X-Men? I mean, I know the video game from like 1991, but apparently it was based on a pilot.
Pride of the X-Men.
It had Dazzler.
I've heard of it.
It was fantastic. I was because I was actually.
I'm trying to find it on RIP Pilot.
Yeah, I was because I was going through Disney because I said, well, they have the '90s X-Men. Maybe they have the original Pride of the X-Men. They don't have it. Trust me, I've been looking. I could not find.
Well, like I said, it's only
which was my first choice. But no, part of the X-Men is really good. And it was actually like a mini series, and it was really, really fun. We have Kitty Pryde's origin. We have Sentinels, which is what you want, and it leads sort of into the rest of the '90s X-Men, but it's sort of like Ang Lee's Hulk the Incredible Hulk, and then the Avengers Hulk. Which, like,
wait, did you look under Marvel Action Universe though, or did you just look up part of the X-Men? Because that's where it spun out from. They were trying to,
yeah,
you know
no,
what I mean? Do they have that on Disney
I've
Plus?
gone through a lot of them. A lot of different combinations, a lot of different ways to find them, and I could not find it on Disney Plus. So that's all I'm saying. Maybe it is there, and I just couldn't unearth it. You know, Disney Plus does not have the most.
It's still a lot of content missing from Disney Plus, from what I understand. But you know, I hear like if you make a hubbub, they might try to add.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, and also they want to have new things to add in later. You know, it's like they've got Spider-Man and their Amazing Friends, and they've got, you know, they've got a lot of stuff on there. And it's just like, well, what do you guys want to see? You know, they have the gummy bears. You know, they have the new duck. They don't think they have the new DuckTales on there. They have the old DuckTales on there. So,
well, yeah, it's still on Disney XD.
Yeah, they've got a lot of universes that they've got their fingers in the pie of, and which is important to remember, a lot of that early stuff they don't necessarily have the same rights to that they do to all of the Marvel that they have to a lot of other stuff. Although they do have Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes on there, which was the film Roman concept. That was very good.
Au contraire, my friend, they do have DuckTales on Disney Plus. Thank you very much.
They do have DuckTales.
Yep.
It's the new DuckTales?
Oh, okay. Well, great. I will have to look that. I mean, I'm watching them all as they go, so you know.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's on Disney XD, so why would they have
I know, like Luca watches Disney Junior, and a lot of his shows are on there. Yes, I mean, either way, I'm paying for cable Disney Plus, so.
Yeah, I mean, they give you Disney XD app is free if you have cable, and here you're paying Disney Plus for it, so you might as well get it too. So,
unlike Cartoon Network, where you don't need a cable subscription,
you don't need a subscription unless you want to watch their exclusive content. And like you can't even look at Boomerang without a subscription.
Oh, Boomerang! I don't know what the hell they were thinking with Boomerang. That's a discussion for another time. But I have a controversial opinion about the animated X-Men cartoons. I think that X-Men Evolution is actually greater than X-Men 92.
Okay.
I think it's better character development, better stories. The animation is smoother. Now 1992 is a banger. It's a classic. Don't get me wrong. That theme song, you can't beat it. You know, you can't beat that. But but I'm just saying, like, overall, it is a better series, and a lot of people actually don't even know about it.
So, just out of curiosity, how do you compare that to Wolverine and the X-Men? Which I always thought that was kind of a spin-off of X-Men Evolution. So I guess not as good.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think it was the animation, that 2D, 3D thing that really threw me. And also Avi Aaron, I got issues with him during that time too. So, and it's like Emma Frost. I'm like, we don't need Emma Frost or Shadowcat. Like, get out of here.
First off, you always need Shadowcat.
You know, and they have financial issues.
Yeah.
So, I disagree. Not if you're going to use Shadowcat like that. That's all that I'm saying. And Iceman, not a fan. Not a fan
of Iceman? Okay. My biggest complaint about X-Men Evolution is Wolverine doesn't have adamantium claws. He has surgical steel claws. They don't, like
downgrade.
Yeah, for real. It's like, what? He has surgical steel claws?
Were they warping him, or was there some kind of trademark with adamantium or something?
It probably was. Like I said, Avi Aaron was going through some situations, you know, at Marvel Studios. He was the CEO, but like they were like, this show got shut down after one season because it was having financing issues. So I don't know. It's a lot of weird stuff going on behind the scenes for this one.
To be fair, adamantium went to Fox. Maybe adamantium did not have a carve out for television.
Hey.
Something happened with that, you know?
Yeah, because they didn't use it on the... Well, that's weird, because they couldn't use it in the Gifted either, so...
They didn't use it. Well, that could have also been a choice. Sometimes they don't want to use things sometimes they could use it, but they don't want to. Is a common thing that happens in shows where it's like, which is why we have so many iterations of Green Arrow. Right
you got to dumb it down to the lowest common denominator.
No, that's why there's Green Arrow, because Green Arrow exists literally because they want a Batman and they can't have a Batman. So they said, well, do a Green Arrow. You can do we'll give you a Green Arrow. You can't have a Batman. And so
jokes on them, because Batman stocks in the toilet now.
Well, you just wait till
poor Robert Pattinson, poor Batpat.
Batpat, you watch. Batpat's gonna change some minds. I got faith in Batpat.
He's got a lot on his shoulders. That's all that I'm saying. He's got a lot
chance
on
to
his
fail
shoulders
like an Affleck. Come on.
Affleck.
I'm not saying I'm not going to give him a chance.
I will not.
Didn't he though?
He did.
Didn't he though?
The films he was in failed. The films he was in failed. The story failed. Affleck acted the heck out of that role.
I disagree. I think it was a case of Affleck being Affleck, meaning he was a smug son of a gun. So,
which is bad. Don't tell me that's not perfect casting.
Agree to disagree.
Don't tell me that's not perfect casting. You're gonna tell me Batman isn't.
It's like hiring Tony Danza, and you can't change the character's name to anything but Tony. That's all I'm saying. I'm sick of Jason Momoa being Jason Momoa with wet hair. Okay, like I'm just sick of that. I want somebody to actually act in a moment, like Gal Gadot. Can they all just be Gal Gadot at this point? Can we just get pages and everything?
Maybe. First of all, I'm not going to disagree that I love Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. I don't feel that Gal Gadot is...
Like, that's so different from any other character she's ever played, is my point. Whereas the parts that Jason Momoa and Ben Affleck have played, they've been done to death.
Well, I haven't seen that much of what Gal Gadot has done, so I can't say that she that all of her roles are Wonder Woman. And honestly, it may be that all of her roles going forward may be Wonder Woman. I don't know. I mean, that's sort of how casting works.
Don't bring your DC into this. Fuck X-Men.
Yeah.
Couldn't help it, sorry. But no, that's my controversial opinion. So if you've never watched X-Men Evolution, I think you might like it. I also like that it had more of a focus on Storm and Spike, and they had the kids in like a regular school, plus they went to the Professor X's school. It was like a lot of cool character dynamics. That's all I'm saying. Give it a chance.
Right? I love him. He is actually one of my favorite mutants, up there with Boom Boom. Spike. Because he is literally a throwaway character that got built into...
Took over the series.
Yeah, well, no, because he you know what book he premiered in? He's an actual Marvel character. He was in Captain America. And I don't... Yeah, he was the first mutant that John Walker, under the Mutant Registration Act, has to bring in.
Oh, that porcupine!
And he's like...
That porcupine looking...
Yeah.
Dude? Okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not a mutant. Something spilled on me, like the Fantastic Four. It's like, that's not what it says here. And him and John Walker, or not John Walker and Battlestar... Why am I blanking on Battlestar's real name? But yeah.
Lamar.
Lamar, yes. Had to bring him in. And
stay tuned for July, people. We're going to get to that story.
And they, and first off, and also for what it's worth, this is the first time where they're both like, this is not what Captain America should be doing. Like, they're both saying that as they're pulling in this poor crying kid for not being a registered mutant. And then they get attacked by the mutant liberators, who are actually, which I knew when I first saw them, they were actually, I think they were called the x-emn, but they were like a second iteration of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. They had Lifter and Mentor and Peepers, who is my favorite. And there was a third guy with the claws. He was called Shocker or something. And, the minute I saw them, I'm like, oh, that's those 4 guys from the Handbook of the Marvel Universe, which is great whenever you see that. And the mutant resistance front, also funded by the Red Skull, because it was all of the people that John Walker fights and gets beaten up by were all financed by the Red Skull to humiliate the role of Captain America. It was brilliant, his scheme.
We're gonna get there, Willis.
Yes. So Spike will always have a warm place in my heart. Anytime I see Spike, anytime I see Boom Boom. Also, anytime I see Skin, because of his role in the X Factor movie, which I loved. But I could not find. Does not exist at this moment. Matt Frewer's X Factor.
Generation X?
Generation X, yes. Generation X. That's the book I was looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think I was searching for the wrong film. Well, that explains it. Don't search while drunk, people. Okay.
So there's 12 X-Men movies in the Fox universe. 13 if you count New Mutants.
Oh, yeah,
I guess you kind of have to.
It's looking like that's
maybe.
going straight to video on demand or something. Because I guess you can pre-order it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of that, you guys on May 15th, you guys should definitely check out Scoob. I am so excited. I'm sorry. It's a Warner Brothers property. I apologize, but I'm like so excited.
Oh yeah. So I mean, if that's coming straight to digital, I'll download that. I'll watch it with my kids.
Yep. It is. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Because I love A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, and they have like A Pup Named Scooby-Doo vibes. So I'm so
yes. It is definitely.
Okay, but anyway, back to X-Men.
Yeah, no Blue Falcon. Okay. X-Men. Yeah. So Generation X. That's where I had to look up.
So wait, for 12 movies?
Oh man, maybe.
So 12 movies. I was going to say, is that Deadpool?
They count Deadpool 1 and 2 technically. Because he does technically have.
He does cross over into the X-Men universe with that one scene.
And can we all agree that the best of all those movies is Logan?
I mean, on a like cinema level, sure, but like it was kind of boring.
Yeah,
for me. My favorite one obviously is Deadpool. Then we go original X-Men. Then we go First Class. Nothing else.
Days of Future Past was all right.
Nothing else matters.
They're kind of like Star Wars films. They're a little bit controversial. None of them are that good when you actually really try to get into it. I mean, honestly, even that first X-Men, when the Senator turns into a jellyfish.
Yes.
None of that made any sense,
Because
he's spineless. Get it?
Mutant, get it?
Get it?
But that didn't make him a mutant. It just...
God. And I'm so mad we got Jubilee cut out of that movie.
Yeah. I mean, here's what I'll say about the X-Men universes. They are notorious for wasting characters and not committing to characters. And it's like they want to have the 60s X-Men and the 70s X-Men, but not have like any new X-Men.
Well,
it's frustrating.
I think those first couple movies, they didn't plan. It was just like, oh, who's popular, and who's not going to take that much special effects, so they threw just like popular X-Men into this first movie or second movie.
Yeah.
But also, we needed a black one, so obviously Storm's going to be it. So there's our special effects budget.
Fair, Storm is a really awesome X-Men. And even you watch Spider-Man and Amazing Friends when she goes up against the Juggernaut and she does this whole like fly up and does a backflip thing. That's like, oh wow, yeah, that's freaking amazing. And you got
that's her classic move from what is that? Capcom versus Marvel or whatever. Yeah. That's her classic move. So yeah, that's
Amazing Friends might actually predate it, but she is. You really see why Storm is such a popular character, and it's not just because she's always wearing a leather bikini. Well, actually, it's a one piece. It's a leather one piece. It's not a bikini. But
There have been times when it was a bikini.
Well, I'm sure there's
Trust
been
me,
times,
there's been
yes.
times. When she was married to Black Panther.
Wow.
Hello.
Hey, in the privacy of the royal bedchamber, it is not for me to judge. Hey, where'd my picture go? Oh, there I am. Oh, because I had my thing over it. Ah, see, that's how that works.
Someone get this man a camera.
So, what's your favorite X-Men movie, fellas?
Again, like we were saying, I think probably like Logan and Deadpool are probably tied for first.
I'm gonna go Deadpool.
I don't know. I still have the first one has a special place.
Well,
in my
I mean,
heart.
yeah,
I don't know.
that to that extent, yeah. So if we're gonna do a nostalgia rating, yes, the first X-Men. First off, if I'm gonna do nostalgia rating, I'm probably gonna go the first 3 X-Men. The original.
Ooh, Last Stand doesn't count either.
I tolerated it. It was fine.
Think about what you just said. Think about what you just said. I tolerated it. That should not be on the list of your best X-Men movies. I tolerated.
No. But we're judging it.
Well, to be fair, yeah, it is. That explains X-Men in film perfectly.
That's the thing. If you want to judge it with nostalgia glasses, that's the thing. It's like Star Wars. Are Star Wars good films?
If someone asks you like a list of your favorite food,
is Star Wars a good film?
If someone asks,
I'm gonna quote BoJack Horseman right here. When you wear rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags.
And
you're welcome, Charlie.
And but that's the thing. It's like, but that's the thing. If you're gonna color it with nostalgia, which I think you have to do with X-Men 1. I think you have to do that with all the X-Men films. And once you say, "Oh, X-Men 1 is one of my favorites because of nostalgia," well, I say, "Well, my nostalgia is just as strong for X-Men 2 and 3 because they were at the same point in my life, and they had."
It had the most coherent storyline.
Yeah,
though,
so
to be
I'm going to
fair.
say from X-Men
Just saying.
1, 2, and 3, I'm going to say that X-Men 1 is better than 2 and 3. My biggest problem with Logan is, I don't know. I liked Logan. It definitely gave me the feels. But even right away, it's Oscar bait. I'm like, well, wait, are you sick? Are you dying? What are you going to do with poor, like I said, we're going to go on the boat and that's going to solve the problem? And first off, not for nothing, him like wanting a boat, it's just so a throwback to Romancing the Stone. It's almost a little pathetic,
yes.
I love how you guys want like a deep thought out plan from Wolverine. Okay.
Well,
hey, by the way, none of those X-Men Origins, like, I'm so mad that they didn't make Gambit. Like, do you know how upset I am? We could have got the Thieves Guild on film. Damn you, Channing Tatum. Damn you.
I'm going to tell you something right now, Lilith. No matter how much you think it would be great, you would have hated it because it wouldn't have been what you thought. And that's the problem with anything.
But Channing Tatum running around with his shirt off. I don't care.
Yet Jason Momoa running around with his shirt off isn't, that's the thing. It's
Jason Momoa is problematic, first of all.
Every actor's problematic.
Nonsense.
Anyway.
Melissa Benoist is a literal puppy in a person's suit.
Lilith isn't heat for Channing
She's
Tatum,
a damn
and you will not
treasure.
dissuade her.
He's single too now, so it can happen. Shut up.
Look at you. Look at you. You offended the professor. He doesn't want to hear about.
I'm sorry. Come back, Charlie.
He doesn't want to hear about.
Come back, Professor.
It's fine having a sausage.
Lecture us.
Word in edgewise now. Anyway.
Poor Phil.
I liked First Class.
How do you feel about First Class?
I thought it was a coherent story, and it seemed like the first movie where they kind of had somewhat of a plan going in. Yeah,
I think they had to at that point. They were really trying to milk their franchise, but I think Days of Future Past is where they really kind of lost me because they tried to have their cake and eat it too, with the old the old X-Men and these going forward, these new guys, and then we're going to do a different
the very
decade
first
every movie
X-Men,
now.
it just seemed like it was just like, oh, we need to make an X-Men movie. Who's popular? Oh, you know, who have people in the street heard of? I know.
Well, it's kind of classic,
but it's like,
to
it's
be
just
honest.
like, you know,
and that,
everyone's
that's
heard
fair.
of Wolverine, Storm, Cyclops. Hey, let's throw Jean Grey in there. You know, well, and they
Well,
want to
if you have Cyclops, you have to have Jean Grey. Because you eventually want to do Dark Phoenix. Well, and Brian Singer
And to be fair, you also
want to
have
Dark
that
Phoenix
love triangle
eventually.
between Wolverine, Scott, and Jean Grey.
And that weird thing they did with Rogue, though, I was just like,
well,
I guess she's Jubilee now. That's
you know, the problem with Rogue was they couldn't do a Captain Marvel story. You know, so you had Rogue, who is a central X-Man that they kind of felt they had to include, but they had no way to get her powers, which is kind of sad because you think about it, you probably could have figured out a way to give her powers.
Yeah.
If nothing else, you could create a new mutant character with Captain Marvel powers for her to steal powers from, or you know, there's ways you could work the story, or make her story that you know, if I don't know what, but you know, or have her exposed to the mutantation ray, and that's what gives her the Captain Marvel powers. You know, doesn't turn her into a jellyfish, so that's good. By the way, I got cut off before my last line regarding Channing Tatum being single. When a handsome man is single, Lilith, why is he single?
Oh.
Especially when he's an actor.
I'm just
Trust
saying,
me, I know.
Just saying.
But I'm not worried about all that. I'm not worried about that. I don't need to. It's going to be a 3-hour thing, and I'm out of there. So I'm not worried.
Hey guys, we got feedback. You want to hear what Ray thinks of some X-Men?
What does Ray think of X-Men?
Sure.
Ray, would you like to hear what Ray had to
Captain
say?
Kangaroo, tell us what's up.
Yes, everyone.
Ray, what did you have to say about it?
This is Ray from Infinite Night and Midnight Podcast.
Hello, Capes and Lunatics. This is Ray. I want to drop in some thoughts for your episode, which is currently being conducted now. All things X-Men.
You knew he'd be here.
Oh, this is exciting. Now, where do I start? There's so much to talk about with the X-Men. First thing I want to say is that I rode the wave of the X-Men boom in the 90s. You know, I was hanging 10 on that wave. I was loving it. It was a brilliant time. I jumped on that big bandwagon. I love the X-Men, and to this day, I still like the. To me, they're the classic X-Men: Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, Psylocke. X-Men Blue, X-Men Gold, where they first started that. That was called the Jim Lee era.
X-Men number one.
The Mark Silvestri era. Really cool stuff. I really loved it. And I just wanted to I don't know, just announce, I guess, some of my favorite X-Men. Of course, at number one is always Wolverine. I love Wolvie. He's such some would say he's a simple character, but I just love him. He's I think he's more catered towards you when you are younger. I think he kind of gravitated towards the young to mid-teens. He was pretty cool there, but I still love him. I think he's good. So Wolverine there. And look, you can't go past Colossus. The likes of Colossus, big Russian guy, just aesthetically looks really cool. I think he's great. And the new Psylocke, when she was converted by the hand, I thought she was,
when they turned her Asian,
quite a sight to behold when you're a young teenager, especially drawn by Jim Lee. And I actually
when Ray hit puberty.
Also, probably not that popular, but I think he's he was ranked up there as one of my favorites. Forge.
Oh,
absolutely.
Oh, bless your heart.
You're the one.
I like his mystical elements as well, tapping into the Native American kind of, I guess, magic. But the fact that he can invent anything that he imagines is pretty good. And I love the Muir Island Saga, I think it is.
Yeah,
that's the one where he and Freedom Force were up against the Reavers. That was pretty cool with Mystique and Destiny in there as well. So with the X-Men, they're really cool. Look, I'm going to veer off a little bit as well. My big love of X Factor. So I think Phil knows one of my favorites is definitely Jamie Madrox, Multiple Man. So he's kind of been in and out of the X-Men, but he's one of my favorites, top 10, top 1. He's a favorite there. And a big shout out to Strong Guy. So yeah, like Colossus, I like my muscle and I like my meat. I'm a big strong guy. I love the premise of Guido Carosella and his kinetic energy, converting that into strength, and how he kind of gets deformed in it as well. A nice little touch. So whoever created him, props to you. I believe his first appearance was somewhere in Uncanny X-Men as a bodyguard to Lila Cheney,
Intergalactic Rockstar.
But I don't know who penned that. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the X-Men. I don't like them as much now, I guess.
Because they're all clones.
Because I guess the X-Men school has expanded somewhat. But I did enjoy the Tom Taylor run, X-Men Red. I thought that was good.
Yes.
Read X-Men Gold. And I like the original 5 or 4. Cyclops, Marvel Girl, Iceman, Beast, Archangel 5. I like them pretty cool. Oh, big one, Archangel as well. Aesthetically good and deadly as all hell. Anyway, I could talk on and on about the X-Men. I love them. In the comics, the animated series, I admittedly didn't watch too much of. I was very heavily invested in the comics, but I understand it was a big boon for X-Men to gain followers there. But anyway, this should be a fun episode, and I can't wait to hear what you like about the X-Men. Other ones. Just before I go off, Juggernaut, huge, big one, and Black Tom Cassidy. I love those two pairings, and as well as Callisto. Actually, I like Callisto down there with the Morlocks. I don't know what's happened to her now, but she was pretty cool. And Mask. Who else? Who doesn't want to be able to mold people's faces as if they were clay? It's pretty funky. Anyway, I better stop now.
Okay.
All the best. I am crossing my arms across my chest. Although that's kind of like Wakanda now, isn't it? That's meant to be it.
That's a little derivative, don't you think, Ray?
Yeah. Okay. First off,
Wait. He also said he forgot to mention Nightcrawler and Shadowcat. So.
Yes, but Mask. Okay, Mask is creepy and weird and bad because Mask can alter other people's faces, but can't alter her own face. Because when Mask actually got the ability to change her own self, she turned herself into this beautiful blonde bombshell, and which is like, dude, you made everyone else be like an ugly monster for years. It's like, oh well, I guess I'll just be beautiful then. Sorry, it's like you're a little shallow there, Mask.
Well, with Colossus with amnesia.
Problematic. Problematic. Okay, so to round this out,
that's what I gotta say.
Let's talk your favorite X-Men story, Philip.
Favorite X-Men,
and then we'll do least favorite.
Ew. I don't know. Gonna put me on the spot here. You know what I really enjoyed, and Lilith's gonna roll her eyes at this. I know Charlie probably didn't. Lilith, did you ever read that Gambit ongoing from I think it was 1998?
Of course I did.
I liked that. At least
really, that's so interesting.
Maybe at least the first 12 or so. Yeah, I mean, it only went to 25, I think, but yeah, probably the first half of the series at least. I thought was pretty good.
I'm just gonna go with the classic and say Dark Phoenix Saga, that or Executioner Song or Fatal Attraction. It's a 3-way tie. It fluctuates. You ask me tomorrow, it'll they fluctuate in the list, but those are tied for my top 3. I love Jean, so it's just it's hard. It's hard being an X-Men fan when you like Jean. It's just hard.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this as far as favorite X-Men book, there is only one answer, which is God Loves Man Kills.
Oh, yeah, that's good too.
It's okay, fine. It's
I literally have
X-Men
that on my shelf right now next to all my essentials.
Yeah, I know. I love it. It's honestly,
Didn't happen.
Maybe I'm missing. Was that my first X? That might have been my first X-Men book, actually. Now that I really try to, it's hard going back to the 90s. They were a weird time.
It's a blur,
but,
I know.
So I'm not sure because I got that from Bud Plant's Comics. I had that shipped to me, and I really loved that book. That was so well written and so well drawn, where you could actually see, oh, that's the actor they want to play that character in the movie, which is what's great about that. Roddy McDowall was Charles Xavier, and I will never accept anyone except Roddy McDowall as the real Charles Xavier, but it would have to have been Roddy McDowall in the 60s. So that's the problem with it. Roddy McDowall is Charles Xavier. It's Roddy McDowall's voice every time I read Charles Xavier in my own head. So, but, that is definitely the best X-Men book. And my least favorite book, so many.
Else.
Yeah. Let me just say probably the current... Yeah, I don't know.
You gotta read Marauders, man. Pirates.
Arr!
Like full steam ahead, pirates.
Okay. Oh, by the way, that reminds me. Beast in X-Men #1 does say "Avast me, hearties," so I did love that. But no, I guess least favorite X-Men. I'm gonna say just everything that since they've been Krakoa clones. It's like there are good parts in it. I'm not going to say there aren't good parts in it, but it's like as an overarching theme, it doesn't live up. It doesn't live up to stuff like, the Mutant Massacre or, the entire Mutant Registration storyline. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the current House of X storyline. Expressly because it's clearly creepy. There's clearly something going on that's negative, and yet we're supposed to think, no, this is just the regular X-Men, man. And it's like, okay, maybe the only thing that's a little bit less than that might have been when the Red Skull stole a piece of Professor Xavier's brain, and that it's just bad science. It's just bad science. You can't take a piece of someone's brain. Yeah. Was that just a Candy? Wasn't that like a company-wide thing, though?
It was Uncanny Avengers. At least that's where it started, and it was like a cross. It was a team with X-Men and Avengers characters on it.
So let me say, I like Uncanny Avengers, except for that plot point, which is bad. And then everything with Red Skull Charles Xavier is bad. It's bad, and it should feel bad.
All right, Lilith, you want to know my least favorite?
Yes, and you probably won't ever guess mine, but what's yours?
Mine is a tie between the Extreme X-Men series and anything with Stacy X. Thank you.
Oh, ouch. Okay, so it's a tie for me.
Yeah, you ever heard of a prostitute? No.
Clearly not.
Mine is a tie between Decimation and Deadly Genesis. Now, Deadly Genesis, you should know, Phil, why I hate it is because they gave us one more damn Summers brother. We don't need more Summers in this world.
Vulcan.
Oh, is that Vulcan?
Oh, Vulcan.
So what was the deal with that?
Like, just go to a cosmic vault, please.
How did they get a third brother?
All right.
He was a long lost brother, as you do. Professor X.
All right, Charlie. I don't know if you know this story when they brought in the team with Wolverine and Storm and all them for the first time. They had to rescue the original X-Men from Krakoa. But
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Supposedly in Deadly Genesis, before that team, Xavier had formed another team around this Summers brother, and they supposedly all got killed.
So he made Scott forget it. He mind-art him.
He mind raped them.
Wait, he freaking made Scott forget his own brother?
Yeah.
His other brother,
is this man not in jail? Why is this man not locked up in the deepest cell in the world?
Deadly Genesis was just too much for me.
Because of Cerebro on his head now.
Ruins was right, man. It's like,
hey,
Professor Xavier's just a villain, man.
And Decimation, I'm just gonna say because it's lazy. Really, Scarlet Witch? No more mutant spell.
198. I mean, 198.
What?
That's how many mutants you left on the planet. 198. Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Now you know where I stand in the X-Men world.
I mean, I really blame Bendis for this.
Bendis.
But I mean, for like the poor writing of Scott Summers the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, is that due to Xavier messing with his mind because Xavier wanted Jean?
Ooh.
That's a good cop-out.
Did he cripple Cyclops?
There you go, Hickman. That's your out.
Yeah.
Before
they do have a creepy relationship.
I did like when they brought Teenage Scott Summers from the past and he joined the Champions.
Oh yeah,
as Slim Summers. Yeah, that was cute. Bendis. Real quick question. Did I talk Generation Hex this episode? I know me and Phil talked it before we started.
No.
Okay. So this was Amalgam's entrance. This was going to be my big X-Men book. Obviously not so much, but good book. Amalgam, Generation Hex. It's Jonah Hex forming Generation X, and wackiness ensues. And they have North Star and Aurora as the Trigger twins in this, and it's they fight the Razor Men, who are basically the Scissor Men and the Sentinels, and it's all steampunky. So if you want steampunk mutant adventure, pick up Generation Hex from Amalgam Comics, new this week at your local comic book store.
If they're open.
Hey, new comics are supposed to be coming May 20th, so. We shall see.
Okay. Well, DC's gonna have
just one more dishonorable mention. Hold on, just one more. North Star is an elf. What the hell were they thinking? Okay, done.
Okay.
So many choices.
You think it was?
Yeah, didn't John Byrne write that and then?
No, that was actually Austin, wasn't it? That did that.
Chuck Austin.
Was
that in that X-Men run? Maybe.
I know that John Byrne undid it in Alpha Flight, where they have the elves like, you're so stupid. Just because you have pointed ears, you thought you were an elf?
Yeah.
Not an elf, you're a mutant, you moron. Get back to Canada. Get back to Canada where you belong.
Oh, maybe it wasn't Chuck Austin. Maybe I'm just still traumatized from what he did to Angel. I don't know.
I'm still traumatized from Stacy X.
So on that note, Philip, I think you guys still have a super connectivity to do. So
super connectivity.
Eventually.
Yes, all right. So Lilith is saying she's sticking less. All right.
On that note.
Thank you for the feedback.
What? I love my boys.
Oh, sausage fest. Anyway, thank you for the feedback, Ray. Always a pleasure. And the rest of you, hey, we know what we're doing next week for once. So, hey, send us your thoughts on X-Men. But next week, we're going to be covering Justice League Dark, Apocalypse War. So send your thoughts on that, Tyler. Email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com. Call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And remember to follow us on social media. Follow the YouTube channel. Follow it all the one convenient place. That's Linktree, linktr.ee/capesandlunatics. And remember to support the sponsors: Tweak Audio, Hunt the Killer, Pod Life the book, now in digital and paperback. And go to buy old comics, toilet paper, which is new comic, anything. Use the Southgate Media Group link for Amazon right down there in the show notes. And send some money to the company to help bring you such fine quality products as the Capes and Lunatics podcast. And send it right to Master Doom Rob Southgate, who I just talked to today.
Go back and look at my history, and you will find out I am right so much more often than I'm wrong. Mark.
Did you guys do the alley chat?
Yes, we did. That's why I talked to you today.
Okay.
Yep. He said next week or the week after.
And do not look.
Hey, everyone, look for
do not look at Rob Southgate's history. Because
look at what?
Don't look at Rob Southgate's history. That's
Ooh.
implying browser history. I'm making a tawdry joke, as we do from time to time.
You're too high. It was too highbrow. It went whoosh right over Philip's head. It's too
I
highbrow.
believe he looks at the pornography. All right.
I was so proud
No.
Tristan knew what hentai was.
Oh boy. No, Rob was just playing with his deck today. Lilith Hellfire.
Very good.
If you nerds want to hang out with me on the interwebs, you can find me on Twitter at Lilith Hellfire sometimes, and on Instagram at Lilith Hellfire 69. Eyeballs and penises.
Channing Tatum.
Philip.
Charlie Esser.
Well, if you'd like to write to me in an old-fashioned email way the way I'm Austin Paz once did, do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's coming back, kids! At Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIE. ESSER. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Not right now. Not without
Thank
I had
you.
need supervision. I wouldn't be wearing this outfit.
He wanted to shave his head. Oh, Ray didn't stay till the end. Doesn't count, Ray. Anyway, thank you, whoever's listening to this, for listening. And for another week, we have been Mutants. No, we have been the Capes.
Ampersand.
Lunatics!
That's right.
Nailed it!
Oh. Nailed it. Captain Tank Talk is up to doing it.
Doodly 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 doo.
Remember, check out the Midnight podcast, where Ray puts on a more civilized show, like that. Out of the pouch. Boing.
A mess.